Hi and welcome back. This next series of videos is going to be about the servos and the servo arms and making sure you select the right servo arm for the particular use of that servo. So this first one is about the throttle servo, and what I've got with me, I've got my radio and my receiver so that I can turn it on and make sure the servo is centered. I've got a servo, and I've already gone ahead and labeled it with the label throttle. And I've got the various arms here, screwdriver, pair of pliers so that I can install the push rod connector onto the servo arm. And I also got my little 6-inch ruler to measure which hole of the servo arm is used. Just in case you use a different servo brand, you'll know what the distance that I put the push rod connector on. So let's begin. First off, the servo arms I'm using, which is the high-tech Metal Gear servo. It's the HS5625MG. I'm going to go ahead and take the round servo arm that's on it. I'm going to take it off. And you'll notice that I'm going to do this kind of upside down here. You notice that the screw that comes with it has a small little washer on it. That washer is easy to lose, so I'm using a towel to do this with, do all this work on. So I'll take this white servo arm. We don't need round ones. The other black round one that comes with it, won't need that. So I really have 4 servo arms to choose from here. I've got the blue metal one. I've got a black longer one. I've got a 2-arm servo arm and a 4-arm servo arm. So looking at these, I'm probably going to want to use the black one, to try the black one first. I got to make sure it fits, that the where the servo arm is, and the servo, that this doesn't hit the edge of the airplane. So we'll test fit this after I make the choice and make sure it's going to work. So I'm going to use this one to start with. The first thing I'm going to do is turn on the radio and the transmitter and receiver, and center the servo. So I'm going to put the servo arm wire into the throttle channel, which is right next to the bind data port, with a black wire to the bottom. Okay. And I'm going to turn on the receiver, and everything's glowing, and I'm going to move the throttle. Okay. I don't know if you can.
4.8 volts.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is set the servo, the throttle, for exactly 50%. In other words, I've moved the throttle to where the servo, the throttle is exactly halfway between up and down, and so that will be the center. Now, if you note in the manual how the servo arm goes in the airplane, the servo and servo arm goes in the airplane, it sits like this. If the engine is in that direction, then I'm going to put the servo arm on like that. Okay, let me grab all these wires and stuff and get a little closer. So the servo arm is on like that, and it's as close to 50% as you can get. Remember, the tooth and the cogs and the on the servo gears allow you to only get just so fine. We'll fine tune it later when we need to. So that's centered. That's centered. I'm going to screw it back in. I put the little washer on first, and then I'll take my screwdriver and put it through the washer and screw it in place. I'm not going to screw it down tight because I know I'm probably going to have to take this off and on again, so it's just down finger tight. And I'm going to go ahead and put the push rod connector in the last hole of the servo arm. Okay, so the push rod connector is in the last hole of the servo arm, but I'm not going to put the bottom on yet. It'll stay there. It's a nice fit. It'll stay there. And now I'm going to go mount this, temporarily mount this in the cabin of the airplane to see how this all fits. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm at the airplane. The airplane's on the stand that I showed you earlier. And I'm just going to drop this servo in temporarily, push the wire down in place first, and then because where the wire is here, I'm going to tilt that in first, and so the wire's in, and then just drop it in place like that. Okay, so now you can see the servo arm is not going to hit the side of the airplane. That's good. By the way, this is a little hole for mounting a switch. It's too small for the switch I'm using, so you can just ignore that. We're not going to have the switch in that location. So now here's the servo arm. I'm sorry, the servo push rod. And you can see, you know, this plastic runner is going to be here, and I got one of two choices. Either I can move the throttle to the second, the connector, the push rod connector to the second arm, which would be fine. You can see it going by the second hole, which is probably what I'm going to do. You see the little plastic tube that it's running in. The only other option is to have that plastic tube be mounted to drill a hole in the former here and in the former back there. But that would end up being too close. So I think I don't know, I'm going to, after looking at this, I want this plastic tube to be well mounted. And let me see, if I push the servo that way, yeah, I will probably cut a little notch out right here. So I'm going to cut a little notch, not right now, but after the engine is mounted and I know exactly how the push rod is going to go. I'm going to cut a little notch out here, enough for that to go into the first hole, and that'll probably mean cutting a notch out back here so that the tube stays nice and straight, and the push rod starts back here. Okay, there's a little slot here for it to fit in. And so I think I'll probably cut a notch out, and so I'm going to leave the connector in the outermost hole, and I'll cut a little notch there, and probably hot melt glue or somehow glue the tube in place so it doesn't slip. You don't want that tube to slip. Okay, so I think that's where we're going to put the That's the arm we're going to use, and that's where we're going to put the push rod connector. Okay, I'm back at the bench, and the next thing I'm going to do is measure from the center of the servo arm out to where the push rod connector is, and it looks to be about 22 millimeters. So that's how far out that is, and in case you use a different servo arm. So the next thing to do is to I'm good with the connector, and I'm going to install the bottom connector. So what I'm going to do is just sort of start it with my thumb, enough for it to be there, and if you have good strong thumbs, you can probably push it home all the way. I use a pair of pliers like this, slip lock pliers, and what I'm going to do is just hold the top and squeeze that together, and that's good. So the connector is in place, and the throttle servo is centered, and I think we're done with it, and we'll go on to the next servo. Thank you.